Hey y'all, how goes it? How goes it? I'm just walking along here in good old Bangalore. As you can hear, the call to prayer is going on across the street. Nice mosque. I'm staying right here on the other side in a place named Ramakrishna Ashram, Ramakrishna Math. Ramakrishna was a realized enlightened gentleman earlier in the 1900s, but very non-denominational, and it's awesome. It's right across the street from a large mosque. For me, I don't hear the call to prayer too often. I've been here for 3 days, and so it's been nice. I like the call to prayer. I find it beautiful and special in its own way. I enjoy experiencing so many different ways that different cultures and different people show their devotion and love to God or the divine mother, whatever it is. I've been in Bangalore, like I said, for about 3 days, and these are some of my last days in India, and I'm certainly ready to, it's been a big year as they have been these years, and this one has been, it's been intense in a lot of ways, not least of which is living in this environment, in this culture, which is so different. I've been in over 35 countries, but I've never been in a place like India. It's just so different. But I'm really enjoying these last days. I'm just walking through these streets, seeing life. The energy is just so palpable, and it's, like I said, so different from the US or other places, but for over 1 billion people it's so normal, and for me now after a year it's pretty normal, and it's just awesome. It's such a trip. You never know what you're gonna find. All these innumerable little shops with who knows what inside them. People selling things on the side of the road. Earlier today I was walking down the street in a very residential neighborhood, and there was a woman, an older woman, a grandma type, and she was ironing clothes with one of the old irons that you put charcoal in, and just ironing clothes right there on the side of the road. And I was like, wow, I hadn't seen that one yet. But this is one of the reasons I love travel so much, and I view it as one of the most reliable and best ways to evolve and grow and learn and expand my box. That sort of thing in the US and in the internet world, we're so loose with our words these days. Our vocabulary is getting way smaller, and we throw around words so easily. We say, you know, expand your mind, or expand your box, think outside the box, open your mind. Thinking outside the box is such a common term, and yet really, how many people actually understand it? I don't think it's very many. stop for a moment and think about that. What does it mean to think outside the box? By definition, it's super hard to do, and it's maybe almost impossible to do on our own, just by, oh, I'm going to think outside my box. Well, my box is everything that I know. How do I think about something that I don't know? How do you do that? So what I have found, oh, here's a little bakery sweet shop. I have to say I have been sampling some of the sweets since I got out of Kuti. So I have, thinking outside the box and learning these things has been a big focus for me in my life, because I have found it to be so beneficial. And so I seek out different ways to do this. And there are some real reliable ones. Psychedelics, for one, is quite reliable in thinking outside the box when it's done in a intentional and healthy sort of way. Also, intentionally being with other types of people, groups of people, going to another religion's place of worship and getting to know people, or groups of, different groups, different social groups. But really, like I said, one of the most reliable is to travel to another place and spend an extended amount of time there. For me, when I moved to Spain in 2017 for the MBA, I had been to over 20, maybe 25 different countries before I moved to Spain. And I thought of myself as pretty open-minded. My family, my siblings and I, we were raised pretty open-minded by our parents, which I'm very grateful for. And we had due to our living situations, we were with all types of ethnicities and all types of people. And then being a Marine for 10 years, being all over the world and doing my own travel. And so over 25 countries, I thought I was pretty advanced and pretty evolved. And it wasn't until about 3 or so months into living in Madrid that the scales really started falling from my eyes. The walls started coming down, and I started recognizing, like, holy smokes, so much of what I've taken for granted as being the only way, the best way to do things, to think, to live, things that I wasn't even aware of taking for granted, because that's the thing about thinking outside the box. Here's one for you. So that ambulance, that's probably in the 11 months that I've been here in India. That is probably the 14th or 10th or so ambulance that I've heard. I believe I have heard one police car in nearly 11 months, 10 and a half months. Just imagine that for a second. Even where I'm from, which is a small town in the Midwest, 40,000 people or something like that, we hear police cars all the time. And I've been in a country of over 1 billion people for 11 months, and I've heard one police car. It boggles the mind. And these are things that you don't even realize there can be another way, because they're the fabric of our life. They are just you don't think about that. It's just a part of life. Just like these people don't think about hearing these horns all the time, because horns are just a way of life here. And so to go somewhere where there's not all the horns, they would be like, wait, what? What's going on? So to live in an environment that's, you know, this country, this city, these places, they have their own challenges, but clearly crime that we are used to, and then overt militarized police presence that we are used to and just take for granted as being normal. That's not normal here. And I'm certainly not putting down the police. The police are us. The police aren't some aliens that live in another world or something. They're our neighbors and our friends. So I'm certainly not saying, I'm certainly not saying that the police are anything negative about the police. I'm very grateful for them and what they do. But we in the United States have created a society that, I won't say requires that police presence, but we've created a society that has that police presence, and we believe that we require it. And that's something that I didn't realize until months into living in Spain. And I was like, wow, even as a white, middle-class, military officer, you know, there's not many people that theoretically would feel more not concerned by the police. And yet even me, now granted, when I grew up and things, it wasn't like that, but even me, I didn't realize until a few months into Spain, where there isn't an overt police presence like that, and the police that are there, they have guns sometimes, but they're very low-key and very friendly. And I was like, wow, I feel like I can breathe a little easier. I feel like I have a weight off my shoulders. And this isn't up to, again, I am very appreciative for the police, and I certainly don't blame them for the society that we have created. They are a part of it, and I expect them to maintain responsibility just like we are. But this is more about just the incalculable benefit that comes from putting ourselves in other cultures where people are living in totally different ways that make us question what we take as normal or good. And then as we question that, we're able to now think outside of our box. We now have new information that we can assimilate with the other information. We can compare it, we can add it, we can now start asking questions. Why is it that phone bills in the United States cost $60, $70 a month, and here in India, 1 month of phone with 2 gigabytes of data per day costs me $4.50 a month? Or why is it that I can get 50 gigabytes of data for like $3 here in India? What is that? Oh, I can ask these questions now because I've had these experiences. And similarly, why is it that I have taken for granted these different things that I have believed are my values, and now I see all these other people living in a totally different way, whether it's being happy with much less variety. For example, even in Madrid, the capital of Spain, European culture, their large grocery stores in the capital of the city, of the country, they don't have anything on the Walmart in my town of 40,000 people. Like, the Walmart has way more stuff. And I had been conditioned to believe that that was more beneficial and that was ideal. And so initially when I'm there in Madrid, I'm like, what's wrong with these people? How backward? I thought this is a first world country, you know? And as I've mentioned a little bit before, there's a psychological phenomenon named it's like the choice dilemma. And basically what it is that after a certain point, and it's not very high, maybe 3 or 4 or something, I don't remember. After a certain point, the more choices that we have, the lower our quality of life is, because we actually feel more stress because we start wondering, am I making the right choice? Or which one am I going to choose? And we have the buyer's remorse and all that sort of thing. And I found, at first, for the first few months in Spain, I would go to the larger supermarkets. I wanted to be efficient. I wanted to have all the options. I wanted to be able to get it all at one place. And by the end, well, really by the halfway mark, and definitely in the end, I was not wanting to go back to the supermarkets of the United States, because I was loving, instead of going to the Kroger's or whatever and banging everything out, the Sprouts, banging everything out in 30 minutes, get it, fill it all up and go. I was loving walking around my awesome little neighborhood, saying hi to random people, or seeing the families, seeing the kids, seeing the old folks, going to the milk store, going to the cheese store, going to the bakery, going to the egg store, going to a few different little grocery vendors, getting the different vegetables. I love being here in India and walking, and I mean, I wish I could show you right now, but I'm not really in that part of town. But most anywhere you go, you're going to walk, like across the street, there's a man making little bits of food, and further down the street there are people selling different sorts of vegetables. And there are different areas here that have lots of vegetables, lots of vendors selling all different types. But then you walk through basically any street, most anywhere, and within a few minutes you're going to come across someone selling some amount of vegetables. And I love it. Like yesterday, I was walking back from a location that I was at, and I found some big figs that I've never seen before. Purple. They're wild. I'll post a photo. And I love figs. All kinds. I wish I had a kitchen right now, because I would be cooking up some bomb. I don't know what it would be, but I would be playing with these figs. And then I found some red, thick bananas that I have not had yet, and I'm going to have when I go back. And I was like, what the heck are these? And I found some thick banana chips that are soaked in jaggery, which is a type of less processed, more natural flavor sugar that has this really unique flavor, with cardamom and ginger soaked in these thick banana chips. And I love banana chips, and like, I love it. So it's hard for me to overstate the value that comes to an individual, and then by proxy, everyone that I will interact with for the rest of my life, just by being able to have just one experience. Now, my life currently, it's outside the norm of the majority of people, and I'm certainly not now, nor ever have I been, saying the way that I am living is the way anyone else should be living. I'm pursuing this intentionally, and I know that it's intense. Like I said, life has been pretty tiring. It's been incredible, and I'm very grateful for it. And my life is in a much more healthy, physically and mentally positive, contented, equanimous, happy place than it was before. But I don't expect people, nor do I think people should do what I'm doing. They should do whatever they feel called to do. But in the West, and in the United States for sure, we are trained to think that we can value things by using black and white metrics, numbers especially. How much money did it cost? How much is it worth? Or how much am I paying? How much am I receiving? Or what's the GDP of our country versus your country? Oh, we're more evolved. Or what is the technology that we're creating? Oh, we created the iPhone 22 and you guys aren't. So we're more technologically advanced. You're a third world country because you use a different type of toilet, even though that type of toilet's actually much more healthy and more natural for our intestines and our body than sitting in the toilet that we have created in the West. We use these different sorts of metrics. But what I have found in my life, and I would love for you to examine your own and let me know what you think, but the things that are actually important in my life: relationships, love, quality of life, happiness, peace, equanimity. These